And that's when I
Yes.
start to feel anxiety. And then I'm
Yes.
like, what the heck is going on here? Okay.
I yes. I can relate. I was a very career forward woman for many years. Um, and then I retired. And I saw you posted something about retirement earlier today. You said you retired after 39 years and you braced for quiet. And instead, you found the loudest work of your life, helping women stop asking permission to lead the way they were always built to lead. Liberation has a second act, and mine started at retirement. Now, but I also hear you saying you're not entirely liberated yet because you don't have the balance.
Well, because I'm still shedding things from
Mm,
before I retired. Let me
mhm,
give you an example. I was going through my phone yesterday because my phone is so slow.
mhm.
Okay. When I'm trying to post something, it's just spinning and spinning and spinning. And so
Yeah.
I got a 616 max. Okay. So I'm like, how can I stretch this? Because I don't need to go out and buy a new phone. Let's keep it
Mhm.
real. Because most of the time it's on silent anyway.
Mine too. Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
Yes.
right. So I
Uh-huh.
said, I started going through the photos, okay? And and I'm like, I can get rid of these pictures, and I started crying because these are people that I used to have relationships with, friends, family,
Mhm.
uh, co-workers. I started eliminating all these things in my phone. I was like, if 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 I've already cut these people off, why do I keep their pictures in my phone and I have to
Uh-huh.
pay for this extra memory?
It's interesting you bring that up because that's something we have in common is this kind of shedding of relationships. And I have shed relationships twofold, I think. One is due to MAGA, and there are certain people with whom it's become very clear we do not share the same value system. And so there are people that I don't want in my life anymore. I don't need that energy in my life. And then the other piece is more unintentional, but it's a lot of my friendships when I was working were with colleagues, professional colleagues, and they're still working and I'm not. And they're still caught up in the trappings of having a very demanding career and don't have the time. So it's not that I wouldn't consider them friends anymore, but we really just don't have much contact at all the way we used to. Did you find that as
Yeah,
well?
yes. And then I started looking at my
Mm.
definition of friendship.
Okay. Please share.
When I take a look at it, these a lot of these people were not friends. They were work
Okay.
associates. Okay.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
that relationship, there was a need, okay, to
Hmm.
get the job
Hmm.
done. And after the
Okay.
job is done, I left the job behind and them too. Because see, I've moved 8 times. Okay.
I get it.
I,
Yep.
I have to detach because I can't every time I move and then, all these tears and everything. So I have to start detach. I really don't attach too much when I go to these places, knowing that I'm only going to be there for a limited amount of time.
Hmm.
Okay.
Similar because my last career was in public education, but before that I had a whole 20 years of my life that was around the Department of the Navy structure as a civilian and a military spouse. So moving every 1, 2, or 3 years was very normal. Yeah. Yeah, and all those people that over time that you lose track of or that you never see again, that you think at the time, oh, or I did anyway, oh, we're great friends. We're always going to stay in touch, and just never happened. So,
It's it's what I would call a relationship or convenience or transactional relationships. We have that. We all
yeah,
need that in our lives. Let's keep it real.
yeah,
Whether it's our mailman, whether it's the UPS man, whatever. We
Hmm.
we we have we characterize all of these relationships, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Margaret, I asked you here today because I wanted to learn from you about um, your experience in transitioning into being a woman of a certain age, as am I. And I think there are a lot of issues associated with that don't get talked about enough,
Okay.
and that can be kind of isolating in a way for many people. And I think talking about it gives people who may have found themselves in situations similar to us, where we've shed relationships or whatever, who don't have to feel so alone in it, and can maybe help rethink um, how we think about this stage of our lives in a way that's more productive. Um, Go ahead.
This is the way I see it. When you're on top of the world, everybody loves you and everybody's there. Okay. But as you start to get older and as you start to change and things start to fall, then you notice that your circle, that people start to fall off as well. And that's
True.
because many of them was there just for whatever they could get. So I prefer to go off at the beginning with those few people, the ones that I can trust.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
Because those are the ones that also are going to be envious and jealous of you and not want to see you succeed anyway, because they felt like, well, how what makes her special? Okay, how come she shines and I don't? Well, if you get up and do the work, then you can have it too. So what I do is we have to not pay attention to any of these people because they're going to be everywhere. That's part of the mega whatever. People gonna always take joy in your downfall, and that's what gives me the joy. Okay, that gives me the fuel to succeed because of these
Hmm.
people. Okay.
Well, that makes me rethink too when I think about some of my friendships that have fallen away. Maybe they're choosing to not be as close to me because I'm living a life they're jealous of. I'm not in the dysfunctional system anymore. I am getting to do the things I've spent 40 years of a career doing, to set myself to be able to travel and spend time with my grandchildren and things like that. And so maybe that's a piece of it. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
Yeah, because as you look at it, your identity changes over time,
Hmm.
over your lifetime, and so does everybody else's. Okay,
Yeah.
relationships they have a tendency to grow apart, and that's okay. We're growing and we're evolving, and that's the way life goes. Okay, we just have to decide what's most important in our life. We have to
Yeah.
prioritize. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the
Yeah.
girls want to like, hey, let's go hang out. Let's go to the bar. Let's do all this. Yeah, back in the day that was cool, but not today. That's not something that I'm interested in. Okay.
Hmm.
So then you realize, okay, they want to party. Well, you party girls go over there and party. I'm going to go read some books, and that's okay.
Uh-huh.
It just
Yeah.
shows you a shift in these relationships and showing you that it's no longer serving you, and that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you about something else you posted this morning. You said, first of all, I want to say you really have a gift for um, throwing out some serious truth bombs very succinctly. And one of them this morning that I was looking at was about, you were talking about, it was kind of a meditation or a lesson on tolerance versus patience. And
Yes.
one of the things you said in there was, for marginalized leaders, the cost of tolerance versus patience is even higher. And that was part of the conversation I wanted to be able to have with you today as a Black woman, understanding the cost of that Black female leaders pay, and that Black female older women in general may experience because of being Black.
Um, the thing of it is, if we look at women and men in general, women make less. Okay.
Hmm.
Can you
Hmm.
give me a second? Let me see what's going on with the dogs. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, what Margaret was talking about, when I was working in my most recent
Go
career,
sound.
I was a middle school principal, and I was getting passed over for promotions over men who had a less successful track record than I did. So I was making less than other men who had even entered the career after me because of the preference they were paid, even though my track record and performance was better. Yeah. So anyway, go ahead, Margaret.
Yeah, that's always the case. Me being an African American woman, back when I started with the federal government back in 1986, there was affirmative action.
Hmm.
Okay. So they looked at me at two quotas. I feel two quotas as a Black,
Hmm.
okay, and then as a female. Okay.
Hmm.
So they met their quota. I don't know what the quota was, but I was happy to have the job. Okay.
Sure.
So obviously I was required to know more, do more, 10 times more than anybody else. And I still made less pay than everybody else.
Hmm.
But that's
Hmm.
okay. I had that job. That was a good job. I wrote it out for 39 years. So
Yeah.
it is what it
I, I
is.
I would think also are there other demands, like socially, or not beyond the economic piece, even psychologically, um, the cost involved with working in these patriarchal white systems.
I was honored to have the job. I started in 1986. I made $12,102 a
Oh
year.
my
That was
goodness.
a good damn job. I was a social civil service job. I had
Hmm.
dental. I had health benefits. I had life insurance. I had more than many of the people, you know, that was still in the hood. Okay, so
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
did good for myself. That was good,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was happy to have it. And there
Was
was a
there
lot
some?
of people was jealous because I had that job. I didn't. They didn't give
Yeah.
me the job. I earned it.
Earned it. That's
Okay.
right.
I
Yeah.
had to. I had to interview and everything. I mean, a friend of mine that I had went to school with, okay, to get my associate's degree. He's like, "Hey, my sister-in-law, she worked for the Corps of Engineers. Give me your resume, and I'll give it to her because she worked in program management. It's all about who
Hmm.
you know." Okay. So if you got a friend and know a friend, give do that.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
that was an opportunity. It was not right there, and I like here, and they called me for the interview, but I still had to get through the interview. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. No
right?
kidding. Right.
Boom.
So, as you got older, did your relationship with those organizations change in terms
Absolutely.
of, okay, please share.
Even even though I worked with the same organization for 39 years, I moved to different locations during that time. Okay, I worked in
Hmm.
El Paso. Uh, I worked at the other in New Mexico, that base there. Okay, I also
Hmm.
worked in Israel for a total of 11 years. I've
Wow.
spent 5 years living in the south in Beersheba, which is like 40 kilometers from Gaza. I don't want to talk
Hmm.
about Gaza. Okay,
Hmm.
anyway,
Hmm.
and then I lived in the central. My second tour for 5 years. Okay. So I got a lot of experience from that. And then during that time I was able to travel to different places. Like I went to Egypt, I went to Jordan and Greece and other places. as well. South
Hmm.
Africa, I got a chance to go there, and I had a chance to go to China. So yeah, I've had an opportunity to travel the world per se. So you have
Hmm.
to adjust accordingly. Okay. And so the best way is to fit in. You don't want to stick out. Okay.
I lived overseas for about 5 years. I get it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
stuck out enough because being African American, still you have to teach people how to treat you. Okay. Because it's not many of me at different places. So they're like, what are you here? The people
Hmm.
curious, why are you here?
Hmm.
Like when I was in Israel, they like, okay, she either a basketball player with the women's league, or she works for the government. I was like, I
Hmm.
never played basketball, but yeah, and that was that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, did as you gained experience, was there a change in how the organization um, responded to your leadership?
Um, the thing of it is it's a way to carry yourself. Okay. If you carry
Hmm.
yourself with dignity and respect, people gonna treat you that way. Okay. And if you come
Hmm.
in any other type of way, they're gonna respond accordingly. So understanding this, reading up on the culture, reading up on different things, but you can't know everything. You got to go and experience it for yourself.
Hmm.
Just like you're not going to know that stove is hot until you touch it for yourself. Everybody can tell you it's hot, but unless you experience it personally, you'll never know.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, um, white women tend to frame growing older and becoming a crone as a kind of arrival, like we get gray hair. Maybe some people feel liberation, maybe others feel kind of more invisible. Um, but Black women have documented for decades that invisibility was never optional in many ways within society. The society keeps them invisible. Um, how has that history shaped what it has meant to you, um, as a woman who became a leader and then also a crone, an older woman?
Well, I had to remain silent when I was a child, coming from an abusive, narcissistic household. You stay
Hmm.
quiet to try to avoid physical and verbal abuse. Sometimes it's
Yes.
successful, sometimes not.
Mhm.
So um even at work, you know, uh, I would stay quiet a lot of the times because as a woman, and then if African American, you're seen as being aggressive or too much or
Mm.
too sensitive. Okay, if you
Mhm.
start saying things that people feel uncomfortable with and
It's
they
a
don't
trope.
like.
Yeah. The angry Black woman trope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right there, that puts you on notice to shut the hell up. Honestly,
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm.
you have to read between the lines. You can, because see, living overseas, and as a child, I learned to read people's body language. Okay,
Sure.
your
Yeah.
life depend on it. Okay, and then you can listen to the tone of somebody's voice, knowing whether they're being brought to anger or something like that, and whether you
Mhm.
need to get out of dodge to protect yourself. So you pay attention to all of these different things. Pattern recognition is key in
Mhm.
every place and situation. So I was hyper vigilant, okay, because of the abuse and things that I had suffered. So I was basically prepared for battle either
Yeah.
way. Okay.
Mhm.
So I go into a room, I can read, I want to go in and read the room. Okay, what is the temperature telling me here? Is it feeling like it's going to be safe? Or do I need to get out of Dodge?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I hear, um, that a lot from women in general, about pattern recognition and hypervigilance as a survival skill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't have a choice.
hypervigilance. Well, and it's kind of maligned as some as hypervigilance. I mean, as something that is um, uh, like a symptom, when really it's a skill, right? It's we're put down for it when, but oh, you're being too suspicious, you're overcautious, you're whatever it is. But when in reality, that's a instinct we have finely tuned as a way to keep ourselves safe.
Right, but we need to determine that for ourselves. We don't need somebody else to determine that for us, okay? Because
Uh-huh.
that person that's trying to tell us that crap is the wolf in sheep clothing.
There are a lot of those around, even on Substack, I have found.
You're right. That's why
Uh-huh.
I keep my circle small. That's why I mind my own business and I stay in my lane.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I had commented about something you posted something not too long ago about um, owning the room and owning the ideas that you come up with. And I had posted something about towards the end of my career when I had it up to here, calling the men out for stealing my ideas right out in front of me. Like I would be saying, um, they would say something and I go, gee, somebody in this room said that half an hour ago and nobody responded to me the way they're responding to you. What's that about? And you responded very wisely. Women do that too. Women do that to each other,
Yes, and
right?
I found that out too. So that's why I keep my circle even smaller now. So at this
Yeah.
point in time, a lot of people are calling me you know what? But I don't
Mhm.
care. You
Yeah.
gonna be okay?
It's yeah, I have found that um and I can kind of, I'm letting my dog in house. Um I can kind of draw a parallel to how to the white women who enable MAGA, right? And there are women in any with any kind of proximity to power can go two ways. They can either enable patriarchy or they can help bring other women up. And I've experienced both. And they're some of the wolf in sheep's clothing, I think, the women who drag other women down and don't, and for the sake of enabling patriarchal systems.
Right, and to also to make themselves look better, like they're superior.
Hmm.
So I'm
Hmm.
all right with staying in my own lane and doing my own thing over here. It's okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I'm better off actually because
Yeah.
when you remove all of these things that are holding you down, if you get rid of them, your load feels so much lighter. You feel so much brighter. You have so much more freedom and joy.
Do you think that's easier to do as we get older?
Yeah, I do, but I'm gonna tell you, it's lonely. They say it's lonely at the top, and now I see why it's like that. It's because of all of the fame. There's a cost to it. Okay,
Hmm.
you can lose your soul.
Really? I mean,
Think
yeah.
about it.
I
Think
tell
about
me about it.
look at all the stars that have died.
Hmm.
Uh, what was his name? I see his face. We see a lot of them face. Jimi Hendrix,
Hmm.
the Mama and the Papas. I forgot her name. Mama Cass.
Mama Cass, Janis Joplin,
Uh,
all the ones that died when they were like 28, 29. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
we have to be careful who we associate ourselves with because a lot of the time these people influence our thinking, our
Mhm.
actions, and everything like that. So we can't pay
Yep.
attention to everything when you're doing so many things. You need to find people you can trust, and you just hope those people you can trust. You just hope. You come to
Mhm.
find out your accountant been stealing from you for 10 years, and then you go to look, and then he off to a island somewhere, off ran off with your money, and leaving you penniless. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Do you feel that the concept of getting older, aging as a woman, is different for Black African American culture than it is for white American culture? Are there
I
different
can't
attitudes about aging?
I can't speak on white women, to be completely honest with you. What I can tell you is black women have always been the backbone of the family, because the man, they say mama's baby, papa's maybe,
Mm,
and that's really true. Okay?
mhm,
Some may know who their father is, and some may not. Some may know their father, but he decide he's going to leave the house and leave the woman with the kids to raise the kids. So
mhm.
we have a lot of broken homes within the black community for a number of economic social economic reasons. I would say partially because of the government's systemic racism. Okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah, please talk about that more.
Well, every time they make certain changes, you know, it affects the family structure. They say, okay, so we're gonna cut. So you're gonna have to make more money. You're gonna have to figure out how to make more money to take your kids back and forth to school. Well, the
Mhm,
mother gonna say, "Well, I'm already overloaded." Then the daddy's like, "Well, I don't know. I can't do no more." So that cause
mhm,
problems within between the mother and the father, and that's gonna affect the kids because then you know what I'm saying? So
mhm,
everything that the government does affects us either financially, social, economically, in all different ways.
mhm.
And then who
Do
benefits?
do you see a lot of grandmothers raising their grandchildren or even great-grandchildren?
When I was in Israel, I saw that because they didn't put people in homes per se. They kept
Mhm,
them in the home. Think about it. If you got the grand parents there, they can take care of the kids. Okay, they can
mhm,
fix the meals. Okay, they can teach the kids the history
mhm.
that is lost, you know, and the grandparents actually live longer by being around the kids. So I think it's a win-win. I think that maybe America's not necessarily understanding that, or maybe things are set up differently here where maybe it's not capable. I don't know what the reason is, but that's why living in different countries, we get different perspectives on ways of life that we can even implement in our own
Mhm. I
society.
I lived in Italy for a couple of years, and intergenerational living was such a major phenomenon where they'd have a multi-story villa, and with each successive generation, the nona, the grandma would live downstairs, and the parent would live on the next floor, and then their kids would live on the next floor, kind of thing. And actually, that's always appealed to me in some ways, um, because it really does serve to keep families together and taking care of each other.
Yeah, and you have less problems in the world, okay? When the family is together, they eat. They say the family eat together, stay together, okay?
Hmm.
Nobody's on their phones. We sit down and have conversations. We have enjoyable meal, okay?
Hmm.
And that's what we really need to be getting back to is these family values that were lost through, I think, technology.
Yeah, I think technology is certainly part of it. Um, a big part of it. I mean, I my kids were kind of the ones who grew up always having technology around that I never had as a child, and having to set the limits on how much screen time they had, or not having phones at the table, that sort of thing, I think. And now their parents and their kids are even more digital natives than they were. So yeah, that is a piece of it for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and again, the government gets involved in everybody's business because they're putting all these marketing things out. You see all these ads and
Mhm.
all of these things, and they're trying to sell their products, and so um, the information is still getting infiltrated through the kids,
Yeah.
programming, programming wise. We're all being programmed, and we don't even
Mhm.
realize it.
I think that is also true. Did you grow up in a home where the family ate around the table?
Yes, yes, I did. I did,
Did d-
but it
did
was
you
still
have you have a lot
dysfunctional.
of well, okay, yeah. That doesn't right. Uh-huh. There, yeah. I did not so much because my father worked nights. And so when my parents were married, which they divorced when I was like 13, but when they were married, my dad, I just never saw him because I'd be at school until it was time for him to go to work, and then he'd go to work and then be sleeping, and so I never saw him. And which was probably a good thing because then otherwise my parents would have fought even more than they already did. But my brother and I would sit down and be expected to eat dinner, but it wasn't like sitting down to a family. Now my grandparents lived 3 blocks down the street, and when I would go with them, every meal was sit down together to eat, not just dinner. So I did have some healthy uh examples there. Grandparents saved me.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, because my father, he had an affair with some woman, okay, my mother. And so after three, she said, I can't take care of her no more. So she dropped me off at my aunt's house. So I'm the bastard child, okay, from
Mhm.
my father who's a minister. So go figure. I never really had a high self-esteem at all because of all of these things, because I was made to be and the scapegoat and something else. Anyway, so I didn't really have I had low self-esteem because of all these things.
Mhm.
And I was
So
made to be the punching bag,
the
because
reason for why your mom's life was so hard?
the reason, well, my mother gave me away because she was schizophrenic. So my
Mm.
stepmother accepted me because she couldn't have any kids. But so my father brought this bastard child to the church and said, "Here she is." Okay? So I really
Mhm.
always felt less than, okay, than
Mhm.
everybody
Mhm.
else, okay?
Mhm.
Because I was ostracized,
Yeah,
okay? All this stuff was not my fault, but I
always an
still had to,
outsider.
yeah, I had to pay for it.
Mhm.
Okay? All right.
Well, and so when you look back, I could see how even early on you had experiences that um, would make a person not want to attach and really hang on to relationships in general.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was pretty messed up. So to be as normal as I am today, it's only through the grace of
Mhm.
God, for real. Because I
Well, I
was
was going
complete.
to ask you that because my saving grace was my grandparents. Absolutely. They were my escape. Um, were there other mentors or organizations, leaders who took an interest in you, provided you access or opportunities that helped you become successful?
Well, that's why I went to work for the military. Okay, that
Hmm.
saved me right
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was looking for an escape. I thought it might be the post office, but it wouldn't be. That would be too boring. So that's why I chose to work for the Army Corps of Engineers, and it took me away from everything. Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was a saving grace,
And then that was 39 years of your life
right?
where you had a wide range of world experiences that I think sounds like helped you be very adaptable.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because I was grateful for that job. So um, I was willing to do what I needed to do. They said, well, you go over here and do this. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so that's why I was able to have so much, get so much different experience. Okay.
Mhm.
And to be able to stand out because of my willingness to do things other people wasn't willing to do. Okay. A
Yeah.
lot of people wasn't willing to go to Iraq. I said, yeah, I'll go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'll go to
And
Israel. Yeah.
along the way, did you ever come across one of the things I found growing up, especially as a teenager and then a young adult? I didn't have a frame of reference for what a normal nuclear family was. As I got older and experienced my friends' houses or whatever, I came to understand that the way I grew up wasn't how everybody grew up, and was able to, well, learn by their example, but also through a lot of therapy, how to be a healthier person. How did you learn those lessons?
Well, I knew what wasn't, I knew what didn't make me feel good. Okay. And I knew that it could not be normal. I just didn't know why until now.
Hmm.
I know now why. And so I said, well, I had to be different. Okay. And this is the reason why. And because this is going to bring me much more success. Okay. And so that's what I was after. And I told that man when he offered me that job, he said, if we offer you the job today, will you take it? I said, yes, sir. And I'll make it a career. And that's exactly what I did. Okay.
Hmm.
I moved around different locations, but I stayed with that same organization for 39 years. But
Oh.
sometimes we can stay some places too long, and I realized that too. But that's okay. That's okay.
W- What, how did you notice that? What made you notice that you had been there too long? And where was it?
Well, because I was never able to break through the glass ceiling, regardless of my expertise, regardless of how
Hmm.
much education I had, regardless
Hmm.
of how many people that knew that I was highly capable, and I knew
Yeah.
that wasn't going to happen. But I chose to stay anyway because I didn't want to have to start all over at another organization, which would put me at a much more disadvantage at my age. Okay.
Hmm. Sure. Sure. I mean, if another organization would even give you the opportunity, because that's an issue too, right? Even just getting hired in the first place when we're the age we are.
Yeah, because most people are going to look at me and you as a threat. They're going to say we're not going to hire them because they're going to try to take our job. And that's farther from the truth. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think part of it, I think ageism is also a real thing
It
where
is.
they look at us and think they know better than we do, and that we're slower or we're going to do things the old fashioned way or whatever. I think that's also the other side of that coin.
Right, because most people like that, they don't want to change. Okay, they want to keep doing things the way they've been doing it. They know the way they've been doing it,
Yeah.
and they don't want to change. They want to keep the status quo.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yep. That we're doing it this way because that's how we've always done it. And then there are the people, though, who like to change things just to change things because it makes them feel powerful. There's that piece of it too. I've
Yeah, right. Like,
experienced both.
yeah, I did tell like what was wrong the way we were doing it? It was just fine. Okay? Because there's more than one way of doing something, and we know that. So what difference does it make at the end of the day, long as you get the result you're looking for?
Yeah.
Period.
I I worked for the my last organization for like 22 years. And no, wait, it wasn't quite that long. But I was in education for 22 years, and I was at my last organization for 12 of those 22. And that one organization rebranded like every other year. And it's like the branding's not the problem. It's it's how your systems function that's a problem. And my background, my master's is in social work, so I am very much a systems thinker. And you know how different parts of systems, including in families, not just organizations but in families as well, how parts of the system influence each other.
Right.
um and it was like, your systems aren't functioning, this part of the system is hindering these other parts of the system. But what did I know? I was just a woman.
Did you tell them though?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was, in fact, in the organization I was in, people either loved me or they hated me. And the ones who hated me because I knew what I was talking about and I would call them out. And so by the end, I um if I had not retired, I would have gotten my ass fired because of speaking out and the change in leadership that came in that was very Trumpy. And when yeah, so if I hadn't have retired, I would have gotten fired because I was in a position where I worked at the will of the school board. So yeah.
You were better off retiring.
Oh, yeah, 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 because, now I really I have so much to be grateful for. And a beautiful family that's growing. My son's getting married in a couple of weeks. I've got a partner who's very supportive, who just brought me these from
Beautiful.
from the store when you went, very thoughtful, great cook, all that sort of thing. And I get to travel. I am going to South Africa for the first time in October, and Namibia. So, yeah, I get to explore the world because that really feeds my soul. I feel very
Good for
grateful
you.
for it. Yeah.
Good for you.
So, you describe your work as helping women lead with freedom, influence, and authority. When you look back at your own life right now, which of those three feels the most different for you than it did 20 years ago? The freedom, the influence, or the authority?
The freedom. I never really had freedom before. I never did.
And because your time was belonged to the organization, because
Oh, always belong to someone else. And I
mm,
always put myself dead last.
mhm,
Okay. I don't do that
mhm.
anymore. I put myself
Mm.
first now.
And what are the ways you do that now that are the most gratifying for you?
Well, making sure that I'm healthy, making sure that I'm eating properly, making sure that I'm sleeping, making sure that, I'm nurturing myself in every way, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Because if I can't do that for myself, I can't do that for anyone else. So we
You
have to
know,
lead by example.
that's the truth. And as someone who came originally from social work and a clinical background as a therapist, who then moved into education, we say that a lot, but so many of us are the walking wounded, right? We talk about and I would even preach this to the teachers who worked for me. You have to take care of yourself and your family first. But I was not so great at taking my own advice for a lot of the time until maybe the last few years of my career.
But you did. That's what
I did.
matters.
I did, although COVID kind of threw a wrench in that too, because running a school during COVID was its own special kind of hell. And I didn't have the option to really take care of myself like I should have because I was building a school while I was flying it online. But I worked another couple of years after that, and here I am now. So it was worth it, right? I hung in there,
Yes.
got the pension, and here I am now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Shining. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So in your freedom, how are you choosing to use that? Yeah, you've talked about meeting your physical needs. Um, how are you spending your You also talked about loving your work and changing the type of work that you're doing. How does the freedom apply to your work and what you've shifted into?
Well, I'm always evolving, and I can see that because the last couple of weeks I've been repurposing material that I've already done from previously, just to give myself a break, because we all
Hmm.
deserve to give ourselves a break. Okay, to
Hmm.
sometimes be able to regroup and figure out what else is there for us to do, and to be able to experience that, sit in silence, and those answers will come to us. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, that we're more than just writers. We can create so many things in life. So why limit
Hmm.
ourselves, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
be able to tap into those hidden desires or passions that we've always wanted to know what would come of it. Now, when we have the opportunity, why not do that?
Yes. That's
Explore.
very true for me. I have very much gone on a journey of creation because making my own clothes or painting or those sorts of things, writing, because there was so much of that that had to take a back seat to what I needed to do to survive in the long run, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a is there anything for some women who move into who become crones, there's a grief associated with it. Maybe the loss of youth, the fact that time is ticking down, um, saggy boobs, whatever it might be, right? Is there anything for you about this stage in your life that is a grief you're needing to process?
I think that's grief is a process, and we have to go through that as we shed these identities and create new ones and new memories. Okay,
Mhm.
we're not going to be the same as we were. Okay, but we're like fine wine; we get better with time, and that's what we need to concentrate on: is the positive things that we can create and the positive things that we can do in the world, and those things are going to bring us joy and freedom. Okay,
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
gonna all get old and we're all gonna die one day. So why not enjoy it, the journey along the way?
Mhm. Yeah. We have a question in the chat from Savio who says, for both of us, what is one block that is getting in the way in expressing your joy? Great question.
I think nothing anymore, because if think something, I'm gonna say it, and there it is. If somebody don't like it, that's okay, because I'm not
Mhm.
gonna like everything that people say either. But we
Yeah.
should be able to speak our truth, and that's been one of the reasons why we're having this conversation today.
Yeah.
You know,
I still think for myself, I still sometimes feel insecure. Not I feel I not nearly the way I used to, but you had mentioned the word anxiety earlier. And that is something that I probably, because of my childhood experiences, that I have had to tackle my entire life. And I've gotten better at it, but it's always there. And accepting that it's always going to be there, I think, is part of growth for me. It's no longer something I feel like I have to completely get rid of. It's just part of who I am. And there is actually value and survival skill in that anxiety. But I do take medication for it. I have for over a decade now. Um, but I do think, Savio, for me, that anxiety is always going to be there and is something that um, probably occasionally will prevent me from experiencing full joy because I've got that what if this happens in the back of my head. Um, but I'm also very stubborn and I'll do it anyway. um, even even like one of my fears is a fear of heights, right? So I was bound and determined to zip line over this, like a mile over this canyon in Costa Rica. And I did it despite being terrified, just to prove that I could, because I'm stubborn like that. So I'll still go through some of those motions and feel some pride in overcoming the anxiety or doing something in spite of the anxiety. But does the anxiety also kind of quell some of the joy I could experience or be getting out of that? Maybe, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Jess Odell says, "You stubborn." She knows me. Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah. So here is one last question, Margaret. If you were designing a version of cronehood specifically for Black women, rooted in your own cultural traditions and your own hard won wisdom, rather than borrowed from somebody else's mythology, what would you call it and what would that look like? Would you have a different word for it?
I just also look at m- being able to have the competitive advantage. Okay, being an
Hmm.
A personality
Hmm.
that is done through continual learning and continuous growth. And that's how we're going to make it. We always have to continue to elevate. I just completed a certification because I have to get these continuing education credits every year, and that's good.
Yes,
It
for your
forces us
license,
to,
right? Mhm.
yeah, yeah, for my coaching certification. So we
Mhm.
have to continue to raise the bar because new information is continuing to be uh, put out all the time. So
Mhm.
how are we going to help our constituents, our subscribers to grow is by also learning along with them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely. Which is what I'm doing with you here today because I wanted to learn from you and all of your wisdom. So I really want to thank you for that. I feel very grateful that you spent this hour with us. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for the invitation. I was shocked. I'm honored.
Why?
Well, you never know, you just never know.
Okay.
Sometimes other
Well,
people can see us better than we can see ourselves. I'll say that.
and that's true. That's true. A large part of why I ended up where I am today is because other people had faith in me when I didn't have it in myself. So, yeah, I have very much enjoyed this opportunity to get to know you better. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you so much. I
And
appreciate you.
to everyone in the chat, thank you so much for being here. 27 folks here with us today. That's really fantastic for a Sunday morning. I very much appreciate that you chose to be here with us today because you could have been doing something else. And so the fact that you're here says something to about your valuing the conversations that we have here. So I appreciate that very much. I want to say, join me here next week when my very special guest will be my friend Beth Cruz, who will be able to share her perspectives on moving into cronehood as a person who is uh, becoming unmarried and also living with a chronic disability. So that is also bound to be a very interesting conversation. Tomorrow evening, Jason and I will be here for Latchkey Hour when our friend Brian Nix is going to be joining us. He was a professional musician back in the 90s, and so he's going to be sharing his experience in the metal rock music scene of the 90s
Yes.
in
All
California.
right.
So that should be a fun one. Anyway, I want to wish everyone a happy Sunday. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. To you, Margaret. And
Thank
for
you.
now,
Thank you.
stay magical, my friends.
Yes. Thank you so much. Bye bye.